ABC 27 HD's Hometown Sports with sports director Brad Dalton.
With the various forms of media outlets in Tallahassee, the main outlets to be looked at will be broadcast television with help from print media. The sports coverage to be looked at mainly are from WCTV, ABC 27, with some footage from FAMU TV 20 and Franchise Sports. The print media will be Tallahassee Democrat.
First down for the Trojans, about the 20-yard line, maybe the 22.
With the amount of consumption, do the athletes let this affect how they play the game on the field? While researching information on sports media consumption, one media effect came to mind. This effect is the cultivation theory, which states that the more media watched, in particular television, the greater the likelihood that the viewer's behaviors, values, and attitudes will be affected by what they see on television. In 2009, researchers at Texas Southern University conducted a study to measure the consumption of sports media by high school and college athletes from around the country. The athletes filled out questionnaires, and an overwhelming majority of the student athletes said television was their main source of sports information. Local television news was watched by more than half. Interviews with athletes at Florida high school supported and rejected the results from the TSU study. All 7 students interviewed mentioned they got their sports information from broadcast media, with only a couple using print media. The main difference is many of the Florida High athletes received more of their sports information from national sports media than local media.
Basically every night I turn on Sports Center, if there's a game on baseball,
I watch ESPN a lot.
With this information, the lingering question is, does the amount of sports consumption affect how athletes act on and off the field? For Maher, sports consumption does influence how the athlete plays.
I think it almost it probably affects them more because I think they're going to be interviewed, or they're going to try too hard to impress, and they're not just going to play the game. So it's they're getting pressure put on them to be to show out for that one game so they can be interviewed for it. But then really it's they're playing almost worse because they're trying so hard. They're not just playing how they should.
For Kason Ash, he lets the media portrayals and coverage influence how he plays on the field.
Yeah, it makes me want to work harder. So next time maybe I'll be on there more, or maybe there'll be an article written up about me or something. So.
The media also influences how the younger junior varsity athletes look at how the older athletes play the game. One JV member says that due to the media's presence, varsity players will mentally change their game plan to try to show off for the cameras.
Yes, because once you get that, you're going to try to do it. You're going to try to keep doing that, block the passes, but then, if you keep trying to do that, you're going to mess up, and then it's going to affect your whole game.
In addition to influencing the play of the athletes, the media also alters the reality of the athletes' lives. For Ash, the media changed his view of the real world, with the stars getting all the recognition from the press.
It did when we came up in 10th grade, when we got our first letter of, interest and stuff like that, when people started talking to us. And, last year I think a couple teams said they had to watch out for, a couple people, and we were listed in there. And then there's a magazine called just Florida Sports, whatever, and it said people to watch out for, in 2011. And it had a bunch of our names in it. I guess it kind of made us cocky at first, but then you kind of realize that, well, it's not that big of a deal, you can still lose a game whether you're, the best kid in the area or not. You just got to work together as a team.
Dave Griffithson for Brad tonight. We are deep into the high school football playoffs. Tonight in Tallahassee, the Lincoln Trojans had a shot to advance to the state.
Many of the students said the bigger the high school, the more coverage they receive. When discussing the amount and influence of sports coverage for a big school, Lincoln High School was continuously mentioned. Since Lincoln is bigger, Many think those athletes can get away with their behavior due to their celebrity status.
Schools here in town?
Oh yeah, I do see it more. I think because they're the bigger school, I think they can get away with other stuff. Not so as much as at this school.
In order to try to combat the influencing of behavior on and off the field, coaches try to tell their players to not let the media's portrayals affect them. For Lincoln High School coach Yusuf Shakir, there are positives and negatives.
Oh, well, I think these are young people. They're living their life. They're learning. Teenagers. As you get older, you start to understand. You just understand how young kids are, and how sometimes kids do make mistakes. And I really don't like the fact a lot of times people try to bash these kids and exposure for high school kids. I like when there are good stories and there are positive stories about kids, but kids also got to understand that we live in a information-driven society, and that's the society we live in. So when things go wrong, they have to understand it's both sides to getting exposure and not getting exposure.
Back is going to fumble the ball, pops out, rolls around for a while. Some lucky break for Navarre.
When interviewing athletes, the coverage of Florida High versus Lincoln High is unequal. Lincoln receives more coverage in the press than Florida High. This could be attributed to the school playing in the postseason every year and having won 2 state championships.
Well, we used to not, people used to look down upon us because we were so small, but then when we started playing big teams in the area, we got more coverage, but I don't think we get near as much coverage, as Lincoln, who just got sponsored by Nike, when last year we almost beat them, 16-6. It was a real close game, and they're supposed to stomp us, but.
The Baby Seminoles players and head coach Jared Hickman think if the team performs well against the bigger schools, then they'll receive more coverage.
A lot of people in the area view this as the big guys versus the little guys, but some of your diehard fans didn't see it that way. They saw it as just another game for bragging rights within the city, and they saw it as a game to stake their claim. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about Florida High football, just a little bit about how you guys are really just one of those teams that are emerging in the area.
Yeah, we'd like to think so. We'd still like to, prove that we can play with these big guys over here, I guess. But, we've been to 3 semifinals in, I think, 7 or 8 years, and that speaks for ourselves. And, we hadn't gotten a state championship game, but, I think we're going to continue to work hard till we get there. And we've done a lot of things, been region champions 3 times, and we've got a great thing going. We just have to learn how to win these big games, and that's why we play them. You play the Lincolns, you play some of those great schools to learn, so that when you're in the regional final or the state semifinals, how to win that big game. So.
After conducting research and interviews with Florida High athletes, coaches, and members of the media's coverage and portrayals have had some type of effect, whether direct or indirect. The findings suggest from the Florida High athletes interviewed, they watch more national sports media than local sports media. However, many of the athletes would like to have more recognition from local media.
Any of that. I would like to see some highlights. That would be interesting because that way you get recognition for that and people get to know you more. And not only that, that would also help you with local colleges, like say for FSU. I would like to see a highlight reel or, pretty much a tip of the hat to players.
Well, I would actually enjoy, seeing, because we don't really have a shot this year, but next year, maybe going to state and, getting lots of coverage and hoping, just kind of putting our school on the map kind of thing. But
coverage on high schools, in particular Florida High, and the media.
I would like to see more interaction with Florida High, just as much as the bigger schools like Lincoln and Godby and all them.
Yes, because I know, our swim team, golf team, it's basically the main sports that get the most coverage. And those sports, the little sports, those are the ones that are winning state and stuff. But the basketball and football, they're not winning state. And I think we should cover that a little bit more.
Madison County's undefeated season comes to an end at the hands of Cocoa.
Some of the athletes mentioned they would probably watch more of the local sports coverage if there was more variety in high school sports.
They should cover more than just football. Like they should just, and not necessarily like cover all the games. I know like some people just don't want to watch soccer games, but just like if if and like our cross country team went to regionals and almost state, so does our soccer team. Like when at least when a team goes further like that and they start become good, for them to like have media coverage, just like to get interviewed or show that our teams are doing well besides just football. Because football can have a losing season, not go anywhere past districts, and they'll still get interviewed. Our soccer team can go to state, and then they still probably won't even be on any media or any TV.
Florida High's boys soccer coach shares the same sentiment as Brian Maher in what needs to change in sports coverage.
More coverage on the sport as a whole and the impact that it does make in the kids' life, just like they cover football and basketball players, or they'll pick a particular player and focus on that player. I think they should do the same thing for soccer.
Dynamic duo. Head coach Clay Allen.
For Sports Talk Radio host Jeff Cameron, he hopes the future media portrayals of high school athletes will not be out of context.
I hope that kids in middle school and high school that enter the world of media now, and it's a different place, are at least given the tools to understand the difference between a real story and somebody's opinion, an entertainment snippet, a highlight, and the full picture, the whole picture, the perspective and context that's required to understand an issue.
The findings from this research can be of help to sports journalists and Florida high school administrators. In knowing what effect the portrayals have on the student-athlete, the school and media will know how to deal with the effects. A researcher could build on this research by including other schools, private or public, to determine what those athletes think of the portrayals. For Elton Gumble, a sports journalist needs to remember that they are covering a fun topic.
That's where I see things headed, that it's only going to get more of it's only going to become more of an emphasis where, okay, whatever story is juicy enough, whatever story, topples one of our great athletes, that's a story that's going to be used. But I like to think that there are some journalists out there like me who appreciate sports and have such a passion for sports that I won't get, that I try and stay away from the negative parts of sports, because at the end of the day, it's a game. At the end of the day, it's something that you do for fun. It's something that you go to a ball game for fun. You want to raise your kids so that they appreciate sports, so that they know the difference, so that they can have fun. So at the end of the day, sports is all about fun. And that's what I want us to get back to, is that it's all about fun. It's all about a game. It's our release from everything that we're going through in life, the real world. Let's get away from that, support our team, love our athletes, and have our athletes actually make the right decisions and stay out of trouble. And I mean, that would be it in a perfect world.